Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody can hear me well. As you can see, I have shifted venues momentarily. I guess I'll say this is not my official studio due to construction down there, and we're kind of having to juggle. I moved from my little nook into a bedroom for a little bit, so I set up here. I'll probably be here for a week or two before I move downstairs. Once they finish up, it shouldn't be too much longer. I'm Attorney Greg Lake. Welcome to the Entheogenic Esquire podcast and YouTube channel. So tonight we're going to be discussing, and again, we're in the context of the Tyler Robinson trial. As many people are aware, recently other creators, namely Baron Coleman, Jimmy Dore, Valhalla VFT, based upon Baron's assessment of the timeline of the investigation into the incident, determined that there's issues with whether the rifle that was recovered, whether that was actually dropped by Tyler Robinson upon his exit, or was this placed there by some magical force? And so we're going to, at the very end today, we're going to go into that. But this episode in particular is going to be really a deep dive into what I see as an attorney, all the issues that are in and around the 30-06 story. As everybody's aware, and I'll admit for me personally, the 30-06 story was one of the first things that had me caught my attention, might I say, that something here might not be right. And that was mostly based upon the fact that we were told, and we're gonna take a look at some of these news articles. We were told that it was a very unique World War I. And I grew up in Northeast Texas. I hunted earlier in life, but definitely have been in and around guns pretty much my entire life. But really, when I was younger, going up through junior high, high school, we did a lot of hunting. We were hanging out on farms, and some of my friends had, antique rifles. And not only that, just kind of being within the space and knowing a little bit about rifles, I knew whenever they announced that this was a World War I or a unique vintage Mauser 98 rifle. And then we were shown the picture, and we'll get to that in a minute. And I know that I've covered this before. Okay, so we're not going to beat up the pictures too much, but just for review purposes, when I heard this was a very special, specific Mauser 98 World War I rifle, and then saw what they posted through the media, the authorities did. I mean, I assume it was the FBI. I think it was the FBI that found this rifle, might I say. I think it's been kind of pinpointed now that some mysterious force put it there. Again, we're going to cover that towards the end. But in any event, the fact that that the rifle that they posted on through the news, the picture of the rifle in the scope with the box, I knew straight off that was not a Mauser 98 World War I rifle, by all means. And we'll get into a little bit later on, like, why this discrepancy, how did this happen, what's going on here. And I'll tell you too, is that I dug into the information itself, right? So, and I know I've said this many times, just so everybody's clear, Tyler Robinson right now is charged with various, capital offenses. And what he's being held on, the document, the filing which he's being held on, is actually called an information. It's the functional equivalent of an indictment in Utah, but instead of being indicted by a grand jury, obviously they rush to the courthouse. This is a affidavit from the DA's office, essentially, right? So we're going to dig into that, and I know I've looked at it in several other episodes, but we're going to focus tonight on some specific issues within the affidavit, because quite frankly, whenever really is Valhalla VFTs, and we're going to watch a clip of his episode on this towards the end tonight. But it just, once I saw that, I've said, this is insane. This is perhaps, I believe, if this were going to be a normal trial, I sincerely believe that there is enough suspicious things going on with this rifle that just purely on that, I mean, perhaps could get a dismissal. challenge the probable cause, which there's going to be a preliminary hearing in May. That would be a really good time. But at the very least, especially after Valhalla's episode the other day, I certainly do feel that if this goes to a jury trial, man, I think that the state's going to have to do a lot of, I don't know what you would call it. They're going to have to do a lot of work in order to try to fix the issues, I feel, with this rifle. So we're going to go through these and just kind of and with the timeline too. So obviously the timeline is important as well. And I'll tell you this, the first thing was obviously there's a discrepancy between the rifle being described as a Mauser 30-06 Model 98 World War I rifle. Very unique. And it's essentially a collector's item. I guess you could call it that. It's a very unique and somewhat rare rifle these days, those older ones, right? Mauser still makes rifles, and we'll see some of those examples in this episode. But anyways, that's really where it started, was that, hey, this doesn't line up. And then we hear the story that apparently Tyler Robinson's father, him and his wife, I guess, part of their impetus thinking that Tyler Robinson was involved in this was that, and we'll see, he goes, oh, well, I gifted my son, and we're going to talk about ownership and control of the rifle too, because there's some internal inconsistencies within the information on that as well. But, he said, oh, I noticed this, this was this unique Mauser, and they didn't say it specifically like this to complain, but basically Tyler's dad thought that the rifle that was displayed through the media, which, again, as we'll see, is not a Mauser 98 World War I antique rifle. So again, you're like, okay, hold on. If he gifted this to Tyler, and apparently it was allegedly Tyler's grandfather's rifle at one time. So like, if he gifted this rifle, to Tyler, and it's this unique rifle, but yet there's an image that's shown through the news that most definitely is not a Mauser 98. And, so you're like, how this makes no sense. That's not a unique special rifle. It looks, let me tell you, plain Jane vanilla envelope hunting rifle is what they showed on the picture. And again, we'll look at it in a second. And so that was kind of the second instance there, where it's like, not only does this not match with what they're saying the rifle was, now it doesn't make any sense how Tyler's father would have recognized this rifle, which is obviously not the one that he allegedly gave his son that Tyler allegedly used, right? So we're going to look at those two things. And one thing I'm going to tell you is that I found some news articles specifically, and there's probably more, but I definitely found a Fox News and New York Post article that I think after this, I'm going to call it a debacle. That's all I can describe it as, right? Like a straight up debacle. The DA announced, oh, it's the special Mauser 96 World War I rifle, picture of a rifle that obviously isn't that. But what we're going to see are some news articles that came out from the New York Post and Fox News. These articles came out, like a week or so later. And I'm going to show you where I believe this was, they had some graphics in these articles that I think were intentionally trying to, one, help rehabilitate the glaring inconsistency in what we're being told and shown, and to get the public, reel them back in to maybe not be, make it not so noticeable possibly. But I'll let you be the judge. Again, I'm not going to impute intentions on these on these media outlets per se. Y'all are free to do that on your own. But I think once I show you these articles and most of y'all will probably already understand the context, but give you some more context on it, and I think you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, we're also going to talk about the DNA. They found, and this is very important, they found DNA consistent with Tyler Robinson's DNA on the rifle. And obviously the other day, I guess it was the court appearance before last with Catherine Nestor and that's Tyler Robinson's defense attorney, was questioning the lead investigator in the case about the evidence and insinuated in there that the DNA that they're saying is consistent with Tyler Robinson's was actually in a mixture of, I think, at least 5 DNA profile. So again, it wasn't explicitly stated that's the case. Now that I've taken a look at the language in the indictment, did a little bit of research, and then hear Catherine Nestor's statements, her question, in what's implied in that, I think it's going to all make sense to you now. And ultimately, you know, because I've heard a lot of people, now correct me if I'm wrong, I've heard a lot of people, a lot of commentators who are buying all of that, right? You know, they use kind of that DNA, what they're calling a match. It's not a match. There's DNA consistent with, but you know, that's their go-to of, oh, they got slam dunk evidence, you know, connecting Tyler Robinson to this. And then we're also going to talk about fingerprints. Okay. And I'm not going to go any further right now. We're also going to talk about fingerprints and, you know, what happened with that in this. Okay. So let's see, let me make sure. DNA profiles. And so let's just talk real quick before we get started or get into looking at a few things here. And let's talk about the idea that Valhalla VFT and them are, you know, they're discussing that, you know, some mysterious force, not Tyler Robinson, put the rifle where it was found allegedly, which was in a chicken coop, I believe. You know, apparently there's some mysterious force that put it there. And again, the reason why I'm going into all these other details about the rifle is because I think it really sheds light on that conclusion that they've reached. Okay. And really it's like this. Apparently after the incident, I think it was around 22 minutes, I think it was a UVU police officer, some police officer made it to the rooftop where they're now alleging that Tyler Robinson had his sniper position where he laid prone to allegedly, you know, take the shot. And I want to say approximately 20 something more minutes after that, about the 40-minute mark. And please correct me if I'm wrong. This is just from the best of my memory listening to Barron's episode on this, but I think it was around like 40 minutes or something. They pull out the dogs. They basically call in the bomb dogs. Okay. And Valhalla VFT will explain it on the clip I'll play later. But apparently, if we're really leaning into what was going through the 911 traffic as being indicative of what was going on, then apparently the bomb dogs came out, which, and again, Valhalla will explain in a bit, you know, they should have been able to smell gunpowder and nitrates apparently very well, according to Valhalla VFT. And, you know, I don't think there's any evidence or assertion that they located anything, right? And again, according to Valhalla, the dogs should have been able to smell this stuff pretty easily within, like he said, a mile radius. But anyways, dogs don't pick up on anything, and they you know, nothing happens. And then magically at around, I think it was 7:40 that evening. So this, you know, the dogs would have been called. If we say this all went down about 12:23, let's say 45 minutes later, you're looking at about 1 to 1:30 in the afternoon. The dogs come out. Apparently they didn't hit on anything. And then magically 7:40 p.m. is when the FBI called into the 911 call center, the traffic, stating that they had located the rifle, right? And so you can go ahead and follow all the implications from there. But, you know, for some out here, for them, that means that, hey, you know, it wasn't Tyler Robinson who left the rifle there, okay? Some mysterious force must have placed it there in the interim between when the dogs came out and when the when they showed up. And another thing too, there's also a possibility that maybe the gun could have been there, but if it would have fired a rifle through the gun within the previous 24 to 48 hours, again, Valhalla thinks the dogs definitely would have hit on it again, but they didn't. So it's either, you know, according to Valhalla, the gun was there, but it wasn't obviously had a round fired through it within the 24 or 48 hours, which would be a problem considering that allegedly this shot was taken about an hour before they showed up, or the rifle, you know, magically, mysteriously appeared there and was found by the FBI at approximately 7:40. So anyways, laying that out there, let's hop right in. We're going to go ahead and start looking at some of the materials. Hey, how are y'all doing? Let me say hi to everyone. Is it just you, Joe? Oh, here we go. We got some more people here. I'm sorry, y'all. Uh, hey, Raining. No problem. Oh, you like it? I'm glad. Very, very good. Very good. Glenn Coco. Very nice to have you. Thanks for showing up. Elena, how are you doing? Hey, I like these intimate settings. Thank y'all very much. But let's go ahead and dig in here. Let's see what I got up first. Dun, dun, dun. And let me just reiterate one more time, and I'll definitely sum this up at the end. In my opinion, as a trial attorney, all other things being equal, right? All other things being equal, if this were, the defense's main thrust at trial, all the mysteries surrounding this rival, I certainly think, if properly presented and pressed at a jury trial, that this could lead to enough sufficient reasonable doubt for a jury. What do y'all think in the comments? Let me know. And again, when you make a comment on it, try to put out of your mind everything that we know about this case and just think about what, if you had a blank mind the best you could and you showed up and this theory by the defense was pressed, what do you think the outcome would be? How would that hit you there? Because I think that it would for certainly be enough to say, yeah, there's just not enough connecting the rifle. And moreover, too, we haven't heard anything about this yet, but obviously there's a lot of people believe that they're not going to be able to produce any other ballistic, forensic data or results, basically the bullet on the other end. I think that's MIA as far as I know. But again, we could be proven wrong. Certainly, I haven't seen any official statement that they've recovered a bullet or anything. So I think that also is going to be a very big problem for the state if that is true. But let's go ahead and look here. We got let's see. We'll start with these articles because I tell you, man, and we'll start with this one. No, wait, which one we start with? Okay, here we go. So we will start with the New York Post article here. Let's see. Okay. All right, so this is the New York Post article. And the reason why this article is material for me, well, for one, it has both pictures in here. Okay, hold on, let's see. No, this isn't it. I'm sorry. Let's see. Anyways, here is what's very fishy to me. If you see this, and let's look at the date real quick. So remember, this incident happened. Oh, never mind. Let's look at the date first. This article was published September 20th. Okay. And so obviously the next day, we didn't learn about the rifle being located and what type it was until the very next day. So that would have been September 11th is whenever the FBI, I think, announced to the media that they had located the rifle the evening before, that it was this Mauser, 30-06 World War I. And obviously there's a big to-do about this rifle not having serial numbers on it, which we might do a little speculating at the end of this video about, that fact there, that there's no serial numbers, because that might play into the mysterious force, that planted the rifle there, allegedly. But anyway, so obviously it came out, big discrepancy, right, between as described and the photo that we saw the rifle. We're going to take a look in a minute. And so big discrepancy there. And then let me make sure, I think it was September 16th. So this would have been approximately 6 days. Yeah, so September 16th, so 6 days after. So we have the discrepancy coming out. Okay, we got this discrepancy. And then on the 16th, which would have been the following Monday, I believe, that's when the information was filed. And we'll look in a minute, but in the information's where we learned that Tyler Robinson's father apparently was able to identify, or one of the identifying marks or impetus for him to believe his son was involved was that he noticed this rifle, right? This rifle that's obviously not the World War I Mauser 98. Somehow that alerted him that this could have been, Tyler. And so right there through the 16th, we've got two major discrepancies going on with the narrative that was being fed to us, still being fed to us by the government, okay, by the state, by the FBI. So then we get this September 20th article, and it's talking about the gun that killed Charlie Kirk is World War I era rifle that may be untraceable. Okay. But let's go down here because I think this is very okay. So right here, ladies and gentlemen, I believe this to be an accurate this wooden rifle here, and I know we looked at it before. I think this is an accurate representation of a Mauser 98 World War I rifle. Now this looks a little newer model. This wood looks really, really new and good. And if you notice this piece right here, if you notice how this rifle has kind of this hump coming out right here. So bolt action rifle 30-06. I do believe this to be a fair and accurate representation of what a Mauser 30-06, model 1990 or model 98 would look like. Okay. Then we go down here, and on the same article, we have this chart right here. 30-06 caliber bolt action rifle. The Mauser 18 Savannah comes in a 30-06 caliber. Now, it's funny because obviously this isn't the Mauser 98, which is the one that it was alleged to be, the World War I model, okay? Obviously, it doesn't have the distinct hump right here, as we saw in the original rifle. And so we have this chart and we're looking at it. And quite frankly, as we'll see in a minute, it looks very similar, okay, to the rifle that was published in the media. But here we have all the specs, however, for a Mauser 98, origin 1906, developed for the military, is primarily used for sport now. Bolt action approaching 3,000 feet velocity. Okay, so basically what we're looking at are the specs for a Mauser M98, but what we're looking at is not an M98. What we're looking at apparently is a Mauser, but it's a Mauser that looks more like the rifle that was published in the media. Okay, and so the way I'm kind of taking this is that this chart right here very likely could have been to help us kind of forget about the World War I part of it with this distinct, characteristics, and trying to desensitize us to the fact that we have a major discrepancy here. Okay. But hey, that wasn't the only one. We have more. Give me just 1 second. Because Fox News got in on the action too. Fox News most definitely got in on the action too. So let's take a look at it, because Fox News came a day after this one, I do believe, but we will certainly take a look. Okay, do this. All right, so now let's pull up the. Sorry about this, y'all. I'm kind of rolling on one. Okay, so here we have yet another chart. I went too far. I apologize. Here we have another chart. Let's go back up to the top real quick. So this is rifle behind Charlie Kirk's killing may be untraceable relic from World War I. Okay. They used a hard to trace Mauser model 98. So again, right here, look, Mauser model 98. So it's like, why did we see pictured in the New York Post article a Mauser 18, model 18, I think it was. Again, it seems to be very confusing ultimately. Now, whether purposefully or not, that'll be up to y'all to decide that. This was published September 21, 2025. So that would have been one day after the New York Post article. And here we go down here. Okay. And so now look, here we go. Here is yet another chart describing a, again, it looks like here that they have the actual, this information as far as what we're looking at, the characteristics as described of a Mauser 98. But again, this right here is not the Mauser M98, especially the World War I edition, because they're, as far as I know, all the World War I were made out of really nice wood. Okay. I don't know what kind of wood, but I mean, every single picture, every one I've ever seen in real life are all made out of wood. Okay. So, and again, that's what tipped me off right when I first saw what they published, the photo that they published from the government. But again, we have this chart here, and again, this right here, this rifle here looks an awful lot like the one that was published in the photo. Okay. And I believe that's all I got on this. Okay. Now, Next, we're going to transition over. And again, so that I call those identity issues, right? So there's kind of some identity issues with the rifle as described versus how it was depicted, the photo, and the photo that they published. Again, let me pull one up real quick just so we have a refresher. Let's see. Okay. Yes. Just so we can, I just want to make sure that we have the full context, because I know I've been talking about, well, this looks more like the one published versus the one that was described. So let's just, before we move further, let's take a look at and make sure that we all have a good grip on. And I promise next time, y'all, I'll do better at like chopping up some, like, putting these pictures on the same document and stuff like that. I apologize that we're kind of hopping around, but I think I showed enough of the, black bolt action rifle that was displayed. And then we got to look at the wooden one, which I represent to you is the, it depicts, I believe, the Mauser M98 World War I rifle. But again, so look at this. This looks more like the rifle that was depicted in those charts, right? That we saw on the New York Post and on the Fox News segment here. So again, it's just my opinion. Again, my opinion is that those news articles were put out there to try and do a little bit of damage control. So I'll just leave it at that. And we can go ahead and move on here. Where we're going to move? We're going to move on to the indictment. We're going to take a look at, or I say indictment. I told you it's not an indictment. It's the information. Give me just a second. Because there's, once I really peeled back the information, there's a lot of internal inconsistencies and, problems with it as is. So let's take a look. So we're going to start here. First, we're going to go through, since we're on talking about these identity issues, let's look at the identity. Basically, how is the rifle described in the information? Okay, let's look at it. So right here, they describe it on page 3 as a bolt action 30-06 rifle. There's no, and I'll just, and I'm sure a lot of y'all have seen this, but there is no specific description in here of this rifle as a Mauser 98. And so it really made me wonder, and we'll speculate a little bit this at the end, because you have to wonder where you're like, well, obviously if the picture we were shown is the rifle that they indeed, found in this chicken coop, and it's obviously not a Mauser 98 bolt action 30-06 rifle, well, then why the hell would they have said that in the press? And moreover, they didn't describe it here as a Mauser 98 rifle. And I think, people pointing out that early inconsistency very well might have had just a little bit to do with why they didn't put the Mauser description in here. Okay. But in another thing too, like I say, they didn't describe it as a Mauser in the information, but we do get a little bit of indication here that does pinpoint it into a specific rifle, is that Tyler Robinson allegedly in these texts says, and man, did I not publish that? Yep. Sorry about that. I just pulled a Baron on y'all. I apologize. We're going to go back to it. So let me just cycle back up real quick, just so that way we make sure that we saw everything. I do apologize. It's been a little bit of a hectic day getting all this stuff moved in here and trying to accommodate the construction, but we're good. So again, right here on the first paragraph in the probable cause statement, just a bolt action 30-06 rifle. Okay. And then we go down here, because if that's all it was, if they just described it in this information as a, general 30-06 rifle, well then, these discrepancies might not be that material as far as, what they published out in the media. But here Robinson says, Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle and it's very unique. Okay. So, and, all of our ballistics people out there who are gun experts, please chime in and disagree with me. But the rifle that is pictured that we just looked at, the one that was allegedly located in the chicken coop, like there's really nothing unique about that rifle. Am I wrong? I don't think there's anything unique about that rifle in terms, for me, when I think plain Jane hunting rifle for deer, anything deer size, elk, whatever that means. The picture of the rifle that they allegedly found, that fits the bill right there, right? That really fits the bill of just a regular plain Jane 30-06 hunting rifle. Okay. But here he's calling it unique. And so that's another thing that makes me think, well, there's nothing unique about that. So as far as the narrative that we got going on here, the fact that Tyler allegedly said it's unique really, again, starts to throw doubt, for me at least, on whether we're being told the whole thing here, right? Whether we're being told everything about, this rifle and more specifically, how it landed in the chicken coop and how it was actually recovered. Okay. Let's see real here. Okay. So that's it as far as the identity issues, right? They've got some major identity issues. I hope y'all got a really good kind of grip on it in terms of what was said in the media as far as the type of rifle, what was pictured in the media as the type of rifle, and the fact that those two things are inconsistent, the description and the picture. And when we're looking at it here in the information, seems to me like what they stated, the Mauser 30-06 is really more of what the story should be. How about that? That's what the story probably should be. But now that we have the unique, that's creating a problem, if you ask me, as far as, again, if I'm a trial lawyer, his defense lawyers going into a trial, I'm about to hammer on this. Okay. I'm about to hammer on this because, again, if they would have not stated that it's this special rifle, well, then, there could be some arguments, some leeway in here about what was published and what's here in the information. So anyways, now and this is what we're going to look at next, is an internal inconsistency in the information. Okay. Basically how the rifle is characterized in terms of who had ownership or control over that rifle at the time of this incident. And now, for purposes of the charges, okay, the charges against Tyler, whether he had actual ownership or control of the rifle at the time of the incident is not a make it or break it thing, right? Like none of the elements of the offenses that he's being charged for require that he have ownership or control over the rifle. But as we'll see, there's kind of two different narratives within the information about whether like Tyler had this as his own rifle that was given to him, or whether this was a rifle that his dad and or his grandpa still exercised dominion and control over. Because as we'll see, there's, obviously Tyler was freaking out a little bit, allegedly freaking out a little bit in the text messages. But let's go through it real quick. So on page 7 here, this is where Robinson's, they talk about Robinson's father seeing the picture that we were showed of the rifle on the TV or on the news. Maybe they saw it on YouTube. I don't know. But let's see what he says. Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. Okay. But then he also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used, which would have been the picture that we saw of the rifle in the box, right? The black rifle in the box, matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. So just remember that according to Robinson's dad, allegedly, according to this, that rifle was given to his son as a gift. So obviously in that instance, Tyler would have been pretty much exercising dominion and control over it. And again, I think in most situations, if your father gives you a gift, I don't think that you have some duty to account for and present this to him, on command. So let's take a further look here. And so now we're going to go down here. It's going to be page 8 of the information. We're going to look at the alleged text between Tyler and Lance Twigg. So let's see what the narrative here seems to be. So Robinson, okay, I'm still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home. But I got to grab my rifle still. Okay, so right now this seems consistent, right, with what his dad allegedly said, that he gave or gifted this rifle to Tyler. Let's keep on going. Next, Robinson says again, no, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town, blah, 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 blah. So again, second time. Seems to be Tyler's rifle. This seems to be what we're hearing here, consistent with this being a gift from his dad. Yet again, Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. Obviously, we know who he's referencing. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Okay, so again, that's 3 for 3. 3 statements within this text stream that indicate what Tyler's dad or how he described ownership or control of this rifle seems to be consistent. Now, let's read this. Robinson again. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. Because I think here, just, if we were, let's just say hypothetical, if we were going to just, generate some text messages in this instance, right? We would need to make it to where, dad seeing that rifle would be meaningful and it would be unique and some kind of tie back to the family. Okay, so here we go. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. Okay, right there. Inconsistency within this text stream in and of itself. This is also inconsistent with what we're being told Tyler's father said to investigators. Okay. He keeps going though. I don't even know if it had a serial number. Yeah. But it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. We're going to talk about prints in a little bit. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Okay, so again, statements indicating that this wasn't a gift from, or at least as I understand, an intra-family gift. Okay, and please let me know in the comments. Does that seem to you correct? Like if you've ever been given an item, specifically a rifle or heirloom. I mean, I get if it's an heirloom, maybe that they would be worried about it. But again, to go from my rifle and his dad saying it's a gift too. My old man's going to kill me if I don't bring back Grandpa's rifle seems to be, again, inconsistent with one another. And so, as a trial lawyer looking at this, and sometimes it's death by a thousand cuts in a sense, but these are just real internal inconsistencies with this on here. And so it'd be very interesting, examining or cross-examining his dad, things of that nature. But it keeps going right here. The effing messages are mostly a big meme. He's talking about the bullets. If I see notices bulge blah, blah, on Fox News, I might have a stroke. All right, I'm going to have to leave it. Talking about the rifle, that really effing sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine. I don't know. I think that was a $2,000 scope. Okay. So again, the story around this rifle, there's just hardly one consistency about it, to be honest with you. I'm sitting here looking at, the overall story of this rifle, and I just don't hardly see one consistency with what's being displayed in the media, both substantively wording versus what's being displayed, images versus what's being described. In this information here, it's damn near none of it adds up. Okay. And so again, this will all bleed into where we're going to get in at the end about some potentially mysterious force actually planting the rifle where it was located by investigators, FBI, Keystone Cash. Okay. So that's that. So we've really looked at the identity of the rifle, issues with that, the discrepancies and consistencies with the, man, did I do that again? Hold on. Okay, never mind. I thought Goldman job for a second again, but no, we're still here. And sorry, I'm just looking through the chat. Hey, I got a bunch of my people here. Hey, thank y'all for showing up. God bless all of you. Thank y'all for being here and supporting. It means a whole lot to me. And I'll come back and answer these a lot of these comments here at the end. Let's jump back in real quick. So let me pull this back up. So next we're going to talk about the DNA issues. Okay. DNA issues. And again, we're going to look at the statements here in the information about the DNA, which we're then going to tie to the questioning by Attorney Nestor at the hearing before last. And again, seems to be some issues going on with this, with the story, with the narrative, with the state's case. So they found, and let's look. So it's page 3 is the first time in this information that we see any mention of DNA. So let's take a look. Here we go. Again, this is the first paragraph of the probable cause statement, page 3 of the information. It says DNA consistent with Robinson was found on the rifle's trigger. Okay. So let's keep going. I think the next one's here on page 6. It says the rifle, ammunition rounds, and towel were sent for forensic processing. DNA consistent with, so let's, again, note that language. Consistent with language, note that language. It's important based upon my research. Consistent with Robinson's was found on the trigger, other parts of the rifle, the fired cartridge casing, 2 of the 3 unfired cartridges, and the towel. Okay. And so, this is a bolt action. Obviously, the story is that he did not, release the empty shell allegedly after the shot. So therefore, this, would have been in there. And again, at the end, we're going to see about, well, even if it was so, maybe the rifle wasn't shot within the previous 24 to 48 hours. Okay. So we're going to get to that at the end. Now, let's talk about this language, DNA consistent with Robinson's. Okay. If we put on our, crime scene detective, let me exit out here real quick. So if we put our CSI crime fighter investigator, hats on, we would know pretty quickly. I really picked up on the difference between, this is a DNA match versus this is consistent with a person's DNA. Okay. And so in all transparency, I went and asked ChatGPT, hey, ChatGPT, what's the difference between using the language a DNA match? Again, because I'm not a DNA expert. The lead investigator that was being questioned by Nestor admitted to not being a DNA expert. So I had to ask ChatGPT. I don't know what he does. I hope they have an actual DNA expert working with them. But hey, anyways, let me read you real quick. So when they use the word consistent with, it means it does not exclude a person. It means that there are genetic markers that are compatible with that person's DNA, but that it's not unique in that it shares other markers potentially with other people's profiles. Okay. And so, pardon me, ChatGPT goes on to say, it could mean that the sample was degraded. It could mean that there's a mixture of profiles, partial loci. So I think what that means is that there's like a partial match of Tyler's DNA on there. But it says that it means it's pretty statistically weak. Because obviously that's how DNA evidence, but its weight is based on the statistical probability that the DNA found is a match. Okay. And so it says normally when you're using this consistent with language, it's because it's statistically weak. It said low copy number or touch DNA issues. But now with match, when you use the language, it matches the DNA profile. There is a high statistical certainty that it was Tyler Robinson's on there. And so when we're looking at this, okay, lastly, consistent with language means, inclusion possible. But the weight, again, the weight that the jury is going to assign to this DNA evidence that's consistent with Tyler Robinson's depends on the statistical calculation behind it. Okay. And so, again, based upon Nestor's questioning when she asked the investigator, or implied in her questioning that there were 5 different DNA profiles found on the firearm and other evidence, right? There's likely multiple DNA profiles on there. So anyways, this consistent with language means that the DNA evidence that the state has, as far as we can tell through what's in the information, through what, I'll talk about that. Hey, Susan, how you doing? We'll talk about this whole setup here at the end. I mentioned it at the first, but all good. So again, based upon what we know, that DNA evidence is not going to be very strong unless there's something that we don't know. But this consistent with language mixed with what we know was implied in Nestor's questioning, right now I'd say way more likely than not, the DNA evidence is relatively weak, that there's a low statistical probability that it was Tyler Robinson's on there, potentially. So we'll see. And I'm not a DNA expert. If anybody has looked at this and disagrees with kind of the breakdown that I just gave, because again, in all fairness, I looked, ChatGPT did the investigation for me or did the research for me. So I definitely stand to be corrected if I'm wrong in that assessment. Now, one thing that I was wondering though, is like, okay, and this is just me, if I were in the state's shoes, right? If I had weak DNA evidence, well, why don't we get fingerprints from the gun? And perhaps because they found allegedly 5 different, DNA profiles on there, they might think, well, there might be 5 different fingerprint matches on this, or maybe they're blurred. So there could be potentially an innocent explanation for this. But let's look real quick at because this really is what puts it more on, in my opinion, being suspicious that they didn't do any fingerprint work. If we go to the alleged text messages here, and pardon me, I didn't highlight these, but here Tyler does talk about fingerprints. I'm worried about I worry about prints. Okay, again, this is Robinson's alleged text message to Lance Twiggs. Okay, he says, I don't even know if it has serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me, talking about the serial number. And that's right? And so I guess I'll say that is, to the best of my knowledge, of a true, authentic World War I Mauser 98 would not have had serial numbers, or at least numbers that are identifiable within the current ATF, FBI government database for that stuff, right? But he goes, I worry about prints. I had to leave it in the bush. Okay, that's another thing. Chicken coop, bush, prints. What's going on here, right? But I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? I'm just going to keep reiterating that. But that wasn't, and I do believe that was not the only fingerprint statement that was made here. Okay, maybe that was it. Maybe that was all the fingerprint statements that he made here. But that's right. I think it was. He just made two references to fingerprints in the same thing there. So again, I guess y'all understand what I'm saying? It's like, oh, okay, well, Tyler in these text messages, I mean, pretty much admits that. So I guess what I take that is he didn't use, allegedly didn't use gloves or anything else, or wipe the gun down, right? So we know that, watching these true crime shows and stuff like that, it's pretty common that, criminals who do bad stuff with guns, or other items, will wipe it clean of fingerprints, right? Or wear gloves while they're doing it. That's usually pretty smart. And that's another thing. Isn't Tyler Robinson supposed to be pretty damn intelligent, from what we understand? That's not too intelligent. If the dude, allegedly, if the dude did not use gloves or wipe that rifle down with fingerprints, that's pretty retarded. Pretty retarded. And it's great that he mentioned it here. But as far as we know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would suspect that the FBI or the state doing a fingerprint analysis would probably be easier and be quicker. I'm not saying do that, exclusively and not do DNA, but in the instance, especially when you have not the most solid DNA case on it, would you want to do the fingerprints, especially when the alleged perpetrator, like, allegedly admits in some alleged text messages that he left fingerprints on it? I mean, just, again, everything that I see in and around this rifle, this 30-06 story, stinks. Right? It just makes no sense. There's so many glaring inconsistencies. It really points out so many shortcomings in the evidentiary record, in my opinion, that, I just have a lot of questions. So, thank you to Valhalla and them and Barron who did the research. And I watched Valhalla's episode and I said, this is the last straw. Like, I tend to believe very much their conclusion, which we're about to hop into here in a second. But on top of that, I just remember, I'm like, dude, there's just so much going on with this rifle. Like, let's, I said, I think my community would be served if I went and did a full scrub of all the issues that I'm seeing with this rifle and then put it all together. And again, at the end, we're going to talk about, from a trial lawyer's perspective, what does this mean? But anyways, all right. So next, we are going to segue into watching a clip from Valhalla. And the great thing about this clip is that it brings in both Jimmy Dore's and Barron's part all in one. So it's about a 5-minute clip, y'all. I think it'll be okay. We'll sit here and watch this together. I'm not going to stop it. I'm going to let it play through. And then once we're done, I'm going to come back and we're going to start wrapping it up. So, hey, and again, thank y'all very much, everyone who showed up tonight. My heart's very full, and we're moving towards the studio, but I do like this setup for the next week or so in the interim. Man, I do. Anyways, let's go ahead and is this out, and let's go ahead and pull up the okay, there we go. All right, so let's roll with this. So so let's go ahead and watch Valhalla's clip here, and we will follow up at the end.
Kick it off. Let's jump into it. What we're going to do, we're going to use Jenny Dior's.
Oh, thank you, Susan. We'll follow up after that. Thank you very much. My first super chat, I think.
So this is what we're going to work with as we talk about it. Okay, it was easier for me to find because Jimmy already clipped the good stuff. All right, so we ready? Let's jump into it. If you haven't seen this, buckle your seatbelts.
Remember, they had the dogs sweeping that area right there by the chicken coop. And they couldn't find anything. The dogs could not find anything. The dogs could not find anything. The FBI shows up, and just a couple minutes later, we get this.
Did the sound go off, y'all? I apologize. Does this help? Y'all hear that?
Possibly find in the area. They did not find anything with bomb dogs. And I'm going to explain how the dogs work so you guys can read.
Give me just a second. Let me see if I can. I'm trying not to. I'm not sure why that sound's not playing though. Oh, so you hear it, but it's barely. Yes. That's all the way up. Where can I? Let's see. Give me just a second. Let me maybe try this. Hold on just a second. Let me see if I can pull it up on YouTube real quick. Let's see. Maybe doing it on YouTube will work. Let me try this real quick. I don't know, maybe if it's because my media player or why that is. I do apologize. And I did move my stuff around today, so that very well might have something to do with it. But let me look. Hold on. Oh. All right, let me try this. Y'all let me know if y'all can hear the sound on this when I put it up. Maybe this will make a difference. Again, I apologize about that. I did not have time to really mess with this and adjust this today. So thank y'all. All right, let me do this. Okay. Let me see. Let me play a little sample here and see if y'all. Is that good? Why is there no sound? Let me try this.
Easier for me to find because Jimmy already clipped the good stuff.
So that good? That working?
Let's jump into it. If you haven't seen this, buckle your seatbelts.
Remember they had the dogs sweeping that area right
Anything there? Y'all hear it?
The chicken coop. And they couldn't find anything. The dogs could not
Okay.
find anything. The dogs could not find anything.
The FBI shows up, and just a couple of minutes later, we get this.
14, just northeast of the Losi building. Forensics has recovered a weapon.
Let me give you some context, guys, before we jump in. And I know this is true because I had a source in the Utah County Sheriff's Department that was updating me real time on day one. On day one, I was getting updates from someone in the Utah Sheriff's Department involved.
And just real quick, y'all, I will make it a point tomorrow to get all this worked out because I might be jerry rigging it a little bit on this sound, but I'll make sure next time that we're good to go.
What happened was the Utah County Sheriff's Department and I believe the UVU Police Department did an initial sweep and search looking for the suspect and then also looking, for anything that they could possibly find in the area. They did not find anything with bomb dogs. And I'm going to explain how the dogs work so you guys can really understand how important this is once we get into it. They couldn't find anything. Then the FBI shows up almost a day later. Later that evening, when they finally show up, and I'm going to show you why the FBI was a day late as well. Spoiler, it's because of Kash Patel. So there's that. So the Sheriff's Department, the bomb dogs, everybody that was looking for everything, couldn't find anything. The FBI shows up way later in the evening, and immediately finds the 30-06 in the same place the bomb dogs and the sheriff's department couldn't find anything. That seems just, I mean, very, very convenient, right? All right, isn't that convenient? You know, sheriff's department, bomb dogs, and again, the dog portion is going to get very, very important. Okay, as we get into this, but that's the background context to what Barron's talking about here. Okay, let's keep going.
Guess what? So there's more stuff that, of course, they've been covering up at the FBI about the Charlie Kirk investigation. So you know that they didn't find the gun. They couldn't find the gun.
Yep.
They brought out dog sniffing dogs that can smell guns, right? So
okay. Let's explain this first. And this is what I'm here for. this is what the resident Green Beret is here to add context, right? When like Barron and Jimmy and Ian find like this amazing stuff, you have Nate that can come in and provide broader context to what they're talking about. Okay, so you're going to hear Barron and Jimmy talk about the gun dogs. Okay, there's no such thing as a gun dog. There's two different types of dogs. You have drug sniffing dogs and you have bomb sniffing dogs. And when I say bomb, they can smell explosive powder. The reason why you have to train them separately is because that dog is specifically trained to smell one specific thing. So if you have a drug dog, then he can specifically smell cocaine or marijuana or whatever you're looking for. The bomb dogs, which are like the ones you're going to see at the airport. So when that dog comes up sniffing your luggage, he's not sniffing for weed. He's sniffing for explosive powder. That's the type of dogs that we use in combat as Green Berets, is bomb sniffing dogs. The real reason why we use them is because they can smell IEDs in the ground, right? So the dog is going to smell that IED, and then he's not going to let me walk over it and get my legs blown off. And also, that dog's going to be able to smell caches of explosives. And I'm going to tell you some personal stories about me personally, my own ODA, and our use with bomb dogs and the crazy shit that these dogs can smell. I mean, they can fucking smell, you know, nitrates or explosive from a mile away. Like, it's insane how good they are. Okay, so understand, it's not a gun sniffing dog. What it is sniffing for is explosive debris, explosive powder, nitrates, gunpowder, things like that. Why is that super important to the story? Well, if Tyler Robinson took the shot with a 30-06 from the Losi Center and went and dumped that 30-06 in a chicken coop, 100 meters away from the shooting location, guess what? Every goddamn bomb dog would be able to smell from a mile away. They'd be able to smell the explosive powder on that 30-06 because it just fired a round. Now, this is important. This is where we're bringing all the context together. They used the dogs initially to try to find anything, and the dogs couldn't find the 30-06. Now, chat, why might the dogs, the bomb sniffing dogs, why might they have not been able to smell or find the 30-06? Do we have anybody who's really cued in? Why couldn't any of those bomb dogs find the 30-06? They should have been able to super easily. No, it was there. There we go. Who said that? No, the gun was there. It wasn't fired. Yes. That's why none of the fucking sheriff's department bomb dogs found the 30-06, because it wasn't fired. So there's no recent residue and smell for the dogs to find. That becomes extremely important to the fact that the bomb dogs can't find it, but the FBI somehow finds it. Right? So, again, we know there was no gunshot fired out of that weapon that was in the chicken coop, or those fucking bomb dogs would have found it within 20 seconds from a half mile away. Some sloppy FBI work. Okay.
All right, so that's what I wanted to show y'all from, and thank you, Nate. Let me just say some stuff real quick about man. We live in an incredible age and time when we're doing this decentralized investigation. We have, everything from lawyers like me and Barron on it. There are medical professionals chiming in, just professionals and experts of all ilk really involved in this thing. And a lot of us don't even know each other, never met each other, yet here we are busting through this investigation one by one. And it's just very incredible. And it feels very fulfilling to play a part in this, I guess, if I have contributed in any meaningful way. But you know, what Nate's saying, essentially, I'll just sum it up real quick and with the timeline. Okay. So again, you know, incident happens 12:23, I believe about 40 minutes after that, the bomb dogs are called out. Now, Nate clarified there that it's not gun dogs, it's bomb dogs, but in any event, they are trained to smell nitrates like gunpowder, et cetera, et cetera. Nate's own combat experience. So again, he's an expert. He's worked with these dogs. He knows all about them. You know, these things can smell it from a mile away, right? Now, he didn't like really state the science per se, but, you know, he basically opined that, you know, if, for instance, a rifle had not been shot within like a 24, 48-hour period, that could be a reason why they wouldn't be able to identify it. So I guess that you know, with a gun, and this is just kind of implication from what Nate's saying, you know, there is a time period where if it's, you know, shot and there's enough period of time, I guess it fades enough to smell that the dogs would not be able to potentially locate it. Okay. And so because of that, you know, and so let me go back to the timeline real quick. Dogs come out, you know, I think at the start of this, I'd pinned it to probably approximately between 1:15, 1:30, maybe a little bit later. I don't know how long they had them out there, but they did not locate the rifle. It was not located until 7:40 p.m. that evening. The FBI located, or, you know, happened upon, found this rifle in a chicken coop. And then it was announced to the media the next day, I believe. But again, so, you know, we kind of take that, you know, and this thing magically shows up when the FBI gets there, you know, hey, I agree with Nate and them. I don't think, you know, based upon what we hear here and what I see, and to be quite honest with you, that's really why I cover a lot of this other stuff. Like, based upon the whole narrative with this 30-06 plus what we just learned from our, you know, expert run. Yeah. I mean, I think that it was, you know, some just very mysterious force out there in Utah must have, you know, placed that rifle there. I am of the belief that Tyler Robinson did not place that there. Or if Tyler Robinson did place that there, it was not because he had just fired a shot out of it. That's my opinion, allegedly. And so, yeah, so I guess this is kind of the culmination of everything to do with the 30-06. There was enough as it stood, you know, at least for me personally, to say, yeah, this just is not adding up, And as we saw Fox News and New York Post, you know, publishing these charts that, to me, in my opinion, and y'all can be the judge, were very misleading, trying to, in a sense. And again, this was like 2 weeks after the incident, about a week or maybe less after the information was filed. We get these articles from these news outlets, you know, showing a rifle that's not a Mauser, the alleged rifle, but looks more like the pictured rifle, which isn't like the alleged rifle, and mixing those two things up in these charts. And, you know, to me, that was misleading. That's my opinion. Now, whether it was put out there to be intentionally misleading, you know, I can't say that for sure. I have a feeling it very well might have been, but hey, y'all are going to be the judge of that. But I'm just here to point it out. So let me give a rundown real quick about what, you know, kind of what we covered tonight, right? So one, you know, in relation to this rifle, early on, there was an inconsistency between the type of rifle that was reported that was recovered versus what was pictured as recovered. That was pointed out very quickly, I believe, for sure online. But, you know, I don't think any news outlets pointed that out, right? But, you know, online that was being pointed out. And then at the end of that week, or the beginning of the next week, that Monday, we get the information that was filed. And one real quick, before I wrap this up, hold on just one second. I want to, because we just talked about that timeline, right? The timeline from this, you know, the lead shot occurred 12:23. the cops would have stumbled upon the alleged sniper post. I think it was 22 minutes after that. So like 12:45, the dogs are called out approximately between, I think probably 1 to 1. I'm just gonna say 1 to 1:30 in that timeline. And then no weapon is located allegedly until like 7:40 p.m. whenever the FBI had shown up and they located it. Okay. But let's look real quick, because how they describe in the information, this rifle being located, I think is really, really worth a look. Really, really worth a look. Give me just a second. Okay, so let's just look real quick. Here it describes, I believe at the beginning of the, okay, here we go. Right here, expanded crime scene investigation. Because again, so the timeline obviously of what we know between incident, all the searching going on with the dogs and all that, to the finding it took a while, like 7:40. Apparently multiple attempts at trying to locate this thing. But let's see how they characterize it. Law enforcement officers followed the suspect's escape path to the northeast end of campus, where they believe the suspect left campus and entered a wooded area. In that wooded area, investigators found a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a towel. And just to point this out too, ladies and gentlemen, when we look at the picture of the rifle that they allegedly found, it's in a box. I don't see anything about a box here. I mean, did the FBI just have a box on them? Say, hey, when we find this rifle, throw it in this box. That's never really made clear. So that's another thing that's kind of funny going on here. But obviously this explanation makes it sound like, oh, we went up here, we saw where they were, we checked the cameras real quick and just went on and went right to where this rifle was located. When again, I think that's a tad bit misleading on how it really went down. Okay. And it makes you wonder, well, why would they not just have like a timeline and just say, oh, we located the spot at 12:45. We called in the dogs. We didn't, they searched, we didn't find it. Then later on at 7:40, but why didn't they do that? Why wouldn't they have made it more specific and accurate in describing how all this went down? I'm not going to answer that for you, but I think the implication's pretty clear, because the timeline's funny. The timeline is funny, right? The timeline's funny. So anyways, let's go ahead and wrap up. Let me pull this off the screen and we will, I will get to comments obviously, but I just wanted to wrap this up. So, we looked at a few things. We looked at the timeline, the inconsistencies between what was reported the type of rifle versus the rifle that was shown. The fact that Tyler Robinson's dad stating that he saw that rifle, which is not the kind that was described. And that's what led him to part of what he believed, Tyler Robinson had something to do with this. Okay. That's funny. Who actually had control or ownership over that gun at this time is most definitely not clear. There's internal contradictions. Then we looked at the consistent with DNA language and talked about what that meant, especially in terms of what the defense attorney Nestor was asking the lead investigator at the hearing before last on the disqualification motion, implying that there were 5 different DNA profiles found on that gun. This consistent with, all right, with the DNA, the consistent with DNA language with the 5 profiles, with the 5 different profiles impliedly, and then no fingerprints, right? Because why would they not seek to verify or further solidify Tyler Robinson's, ownership, control, use of that rifle on September 10th, 2025? Why would they not look for fingerprints and conduct a fingerprint analysis when Tyler Robinson himself, who's apparently a, very, very intelligent young man, I have no reason to doubt that, but apparently he was not smart enough to mention in these text messages that he left fingerprints on the rifle. Okay. Which, dumb on both counts, right? Like dumb that you left fingerprints on there. Dumb that you allegedly put that in text message, but hey, when an investigators don't take advantage of a alleged criminal being stupid, well, something's up. Something's up, if you ask me. Am I right? Am I right? I mean, investigators get off on criminals being dumb. They did something so stupid. We found them, but hey, no fingerprint analysis, at least that we're aware of in this instance. Get real. Let's get real with ourselves, with each other, with the world. Let's get real. That is funny business. That is extremely funny business, in my opinion, allegedly. Okay. And then here we are at the end, right? This is all culminating in the last week. We have our expert co-creators over here that really, really dug in, Barron with the 911 traffic, piecing together the timeline, figuring out that it was the FBI at 7:40 in the evening, found the rifle. Nate with the deep, intimate knowledge on the bomb dog situation came and, hey, what did they conclude? Well, they concluded something very specific. What I'm going to say is that I conclude that there was some very strange and mysterious force, okay, that either planted that rifle there or that rifle was not fired within the 24 or 48 hours prior to it being located and found and announced to us. So that's all I have tonight as far as my presentation. We're going to jump on over to the comments now. My heart's so full. Everybody who showed up, thank y'all very much. Adam Thomas is here, my good buddy. Adam Thomas Podcast. If you haven't already, go give him a subscribe. Hey, Renita, thank you very much. Thank y'all. Let me jump over here and hey, so I guess let me say a few things real quick. So Miss Susan, hey, thank you for the super chat. This isn't my studio quite yet. We're still working. We're doing what they call it, musical chairs a little bit. My office nook that I was in is going to get new carpet underneath it. So I moved here into a master bedroom for the time being. While the office or the studio downstairs is being finished up, I do like it here. This feels a lot better to me. I like the camera being right here and having more kind of room in the shot. Where I was kind of huddled up a little bit, but hey, stepping stones, right? Stepping stones. So anyways, that's where we're at. Let me go ahead and go through some of these comments. And yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this, man. I wanted to just give everybody a real breakdown of everything to do with the 30-06, everything, because, it all makes, I think that when we see Nate and Jimmy and Barron's videos there, that it just makes all the more sense and more plausible when we look at everything in the total. Okay. Let me go. So yeah, so Miss Susan, thank you very much. This is my first super chat, ladies and gentlemen. I went ahead and monetized my channel today. Man, just thank everybody for the support to make that possible. I'm so appreciative, and trust me, now that I'm monetized, I'm going to be putting more and more into this. Okay. So thank y'all very much. Miss Raina Sophia, let's see what she had to say here. So anyway, we can show up in mass to apply pressure and hold them, the government, TPUSA, accountable. Aren't we all technically witnesses? Well, that's a very good question. Now, let me say this. I would never suggest that we show up in force and do anything that has anything to do with violence. Obviously, we do have the right to show up and peacefully protest wherever that might be, outside the courtroom, et cetera, et cetera. To be quite honest, I've been trying to work this out in my head. How, if the authorities, meaning the DA and the local police, the people who are over this case right now at the state level, are unwilling to really do a deep dive and to, investigate these things, we might have to look at exercising some of our other constitutional rights in order to, if we feel that strongly that these are not, Tyler Robinson's not the one that needs to be held accountable, and the people that are and do need to be held accountable aren't. Yeah, we would need to look at other peaceful means within our rights to go and do that. I've been thinking about it. I just hope that this ends up with a peaceful and just resolution. And that's all I can say right now. I sincerely do. And hey, along the way, if I develop some more thoughts along what you're saying, I for sure will share them. Thank you very much for the super chat. It's very much deeply appreciated. Yay. So anyways, so those are my 2 super chats. Yeah, man, I'm stoked. Thank y'all very much. Mr. Joe, I've emailing with Joe. Let's see. Play it again. Lena, thank you. Core belief. Thank you very much for chiming in. Found you from Blackline Brief. Yeah, Blackline Brief is my homeboy. We had a very, very good live stream the other night. I really enjoyed sharing space with Adam. So thank y'all, all y'all that were part of his crew that came over here. Thank y'all very much. And anyone who's part of my crew, if you haven't yet, go check out Blackline Brief. He is very good content creator and has very good, productive conversations over there that, out of all the other content creators that I regularly watch, I think him and I share the closest views on a lot of the most important matters, at least with the, TPUSA, Charlie Kirk, whole ordeal. Let's see. Sorry. Yeah. So I wasn't looking at the chat tonight as I was going, just because I have had a lot. I had a kind of specific progression of things I wanted to do and wanted to stay on point. And I'm in a new studio, I'm in a new area of the home, which is a little out of my normal element. So it took me a minute to kind of get into the flow here. But next time I'll try to be better about looking at some of these comments as we go. Let's look. Yeah. So real quick, I'll talk to Elena here. It will be it'll be interesting to see what the prosecution actually presents in the trial. This is a weak link in their case to be sure. Absolutely. I mean, that's one thing too, I'll tell you, is like, I'm very, I think about it every day. Like we're obviously not privy to the actual discovery file. The only thing that we're really working off is the information, things that we hear in the hearings, information that was released during the course of this investigation. And so, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what actually comes out there. Now, moving forward in the next couple weeks and months, we'll have some hearings over so on that issue. Next court hearing, which is going to be March 13th, is going to be about whether they're going to keep the pretrial evidentiary motions private. So obviously, if the judge allows the evidentiary motions to be published, and then the next court date, which is going to be in April, is going to be over whether the cameras are going to be allowed in any of these proceedings. We'll know more and more, but it would be a big win if judge denies the defense's motion to keep these evidentiary things private. And then there's going to be a preliminary hearing in May, which will be where they challenge probable cause. Hopefully, I've got a lot of concerns and I've highlighted some of those and I'll continue to. I got some concerns about how vigorous and authentic the defense is going to be of Tyler Robinson, just my personal feelings about it. But we'll cover that more as we move forward. But yeah, it's just very interesting to just sit there and ponder what's going to be released. What is the trial strategy going to be for the defense? I saw like with John Bray today, which again, whether you believe John Bray's theory with the exploding mic or not, in terms of what I'm about to say, is irrelevant because it is an alternate theory that could be advanced that could lead to Tyler Robinson being acquitted, right? So for that purposes, I am concerned that John Bray's allegedly sending all this good stuff. I consider it at the very least good material, research, and data that he's worked up to the defense, and they haven't even called him, or reached out to him as far as I'm aware. Stuff like that gives me pause and concern. It certainly does. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this progresses as time goes on. Let's see. Why do they show? So, Raining, very good question. Why did they show a stock photo instead of a photo of the planter rifle? They determined. No, as far as I'm aware, Raining, that's the rifle that they found. I think that's a picture of the actual rifle. I haven't heard any. I think they would have made it known if that was a stock photo. I know. I'm like you. I got to be honest, man. When I first saw it, I thought that too. I was like, why do they? It's like a stock photo of some drunk redneck, like, taking a picture of their rifle that they just unboxed. I don't know. But yeah, I was very surprised, but I don't think that's a stock photo, love. I really don't. So yeah, I don't know, but if that's the photo of the rifle they're claiming that they found, break out the tissues. We got issues. They do. They should. I keep saying that. Well, they're going to have issues, but hey, they very well might not. You know what I mean? They very well might not with the way the defense is kind of shaking out now. Let me see. I just got another super. Oh, Mystic Gypsy, man, dude. Man, y'all are so sweet. My heart's full. Thank y'all very much for showing up and supporting me tonight. Hey, Greg, just stopping by to hit the like and say congrats on getting monetized. I'll be rewatched. Thank you, man. Thank y'all. Thank you very much, Mystic Gypsy. Y'all are incredible. We've got a very good, solid community here just within our sphere of content creators, with Adam and with Matt, Ali Top Files, man, my heart's full and just very grateful to be in this circle. So thank y'all very much. Thank you, Mystic Gypsy. You're a badass. Did I go down too far? Okay. Let's see. Okay. Raining. So Robert Wells. Okay. Robert says that they found the rifle behind the chicken coop. Okay. So yeah, because I think the information says it was just found in a wooded area. But let me see real quick. So at the first part here in the probable cause statement, when they first start off, they say that it was found nearby. But in the expanded crime scene statement, it says that law enforcement must follow suspect's escape path to northeast Indiana, where they believe the suspect entered a wooded area. In that wooded area, investigators found a boss. Okay, so I guess the wooded area would be the area behind the chicken coop. And so maybe Valhalla had it mixed up a little bit that it was in the chicken coop, and maybe I'm just reading too much into it. But thank you for the clarification, Robert. I think you are correct. Julia, is the house owned by BlackRock? Oh, what? Okay. There. Yeah, is the house owned by BlackRock? It very well might be. Oh, there was correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there it was like some famous Republican politician or commentator or something that was like just magically at his aunt's house or something that was like up the road. I mean, there's just some of these things that have come out that you're just like, yeah. Anyways. Robert, let's see what Robert, you say you saw them get it behind the chicken coop rolled in a towel? Like there's video of it? Let me know. Hopefully I can catch up with that at the end. Robert, they've been lying to everyone about this case. It wasn't Tyler Robinson. I agree. Robert. Let's see. Julia, another point, and I keep getting this, and I'll try to ask her. At this point, all I can really do, unless somebody follows up with me with some specific information, but she's asking about, I'm still wanting to know if there's a connection between the defense counsel and TPUSA. Was that even true? So yeah, I think the allegations out there, again, just allegations, possibly, I guess you could say speculation, that I think it's the defense attorney Novak. I can't remember his name. Something Novak is like they allege he's related to Tyler Farnsworth, maybe brother-in-law or something along those lines. Again, I just haven't heard any more specific information. If anybody has any, please send it to me and let me know. It would be greatly appreciated. Let's see. Let's see, raining here again. Do you think Tyler will suspiciously be found unalive before trial? You know, whew. I hope not. I certainly hope not. But you know, I can't sit here and say that I would completely 100% discount it. To be honest with you, Raining. Yeah, I hate to say that. I really do, man. I really do. And Barron said one time, and I tend to agree. I don't know if some certain people had intentions that Tyler Robinson make it past that day, past the day of shooting, the alleged shooting. So yeah, I say that with a very heavy heart. I surely hope not. Looks like I got more super chats here. Oh, there goes Raining. Oh, thank you, Raining, thank you very much for the support. I appreciate it. You know, man, yeah, my heart's full. And again, recouping some of the cost I put in is very motivating. But really, look, to be it the truth, y'all, I've kind of clicked in a little bit right now with balancing my law practice schedule and consulting with doing this. Where it's getting pretty comfortable. But I mean, I'll just tell you, over time, I'm slowly going to put more and more time into this. And I was thinking last night, and I mean it, not, you know, I love to research and write and do stuff like that. And if I'm going to be one day putting full time into this, it's y'all are going to love it. Y'all are going to love it. I do. When I get really focused in on something like I did when I started doing free exercise law, man, I get zoned in. The last book I wrote was like a 325 page dissertation on, or like a legal dissertation in a sense, legal treatise on defining religion under the law. And so that's the kind of focus that I get when I really get honed in on something that I'm really, really passionate about. And I'm really, really passionate about this. So let's hope that I can maneuver and finagle it doing this full time. But support like this helps. Absolutely. Oh, Moonchild, thank you very much. You know, again, ride or die subscriber there. Thank you very much, Moonchild. I appreciate y'all. Yeah. I definitely will, you know, never forget this first, you know, few months starting this channel and who was there for me in the beginning. I'll never forget that. Yeah. So thank y'all for sure. All right, let's see. Don't Baron us. I didn't mean to. I will. So with the volume on, I'll figure out what that is. I'll make Adam help me. I'll take some of the super money and pay Adam to help me figure that out. We'll get on a practice stream and we'll get it figured out. I think Adam and I are going to do another exchange on Friday. So y'all probably want to definitely show up for that. I'll talk a little bit at the end before I sign off on what I think we might be talking about. Let's see. Sound. Yeah, I know. Susan, does anyone trust the FBI? I don't. Let me say this. So this was one thing I meant to say to y'all too. And this is just from my experience. I've obviously litigated, you know, both criminal and civil cases in federal court that involved these 3-letter agencies, one particularly the FBI. And look, there was an instance where I felt very, very confident that there was a report generated by the FBI that was manufactured. Okay. And I'm not going to say specifics. I don't want to put anybody out there. But I felt very strongly that way. Okay. And when I presented to my co-counsel I was working with and the other attorney that was working on the criminal end of this case, you know, when I presented them with that, oh man, they thought I would have harmed somebody, you know, or done something wrong because man, there was and it's not like they knew that agent. It's just, and I guess the moral of the story here is like, even in a normal case, you know, unfortunately, many attorneys out there, and maybe they have more wisdom than I do, but they're not real hot to trot to go to court and like insinuate that the federal investigative agencies or agents did something deceitful. Okay. So unfortunately, even though we see these conclusions that Valhalla and them have drawn, please just understand and don't be fully disheartened if that's not brought out or alleged at trial or at the preliminary hearing. Okay. And I thank you for saying that, because I wanted to share my personal experience with you. Just so that way moving forward, your expectations are where I feel they probably should be. But again, feel free to expect whatever. And as a citizen of this country, you are not in the wrong for expecting that they go to trial. If you find credibility in this, don't feel like you're in the wrong by expecting they do that at trial. I'm just letting you know what the reality has been in my experience. Okay. Mr. Adam Thomas, how you doing, Mr. Adam Thomas? That's my good buddy. We do live streams together. He's got a great channel, Adam Thomas Podcast. If you got the bandwidth and time, please go over there and give him a subscribe. He's a hardworking man. He's been doing it a little bit longer than I have. I've been able to get some more subscribers than him, but I want him to be on par with me because he deserves to be 100%. As a matter of fact, Adam probably deserves to have more subscribers than I do. So if y'all can, go show him some love and support. He also does this as a labor of love and someone who I support for sure. He's very good people. Yeah, Adam, you need to turn your comments on your live streams, brother. Let's see. Oh, this is very interesting. Raining. I think it's suspicious that TMZ always has the hot news before anyone. I think TMZ has government connections, possibly money involved. They are fed the propaganda to announce. I mean, I don't have any reason to really fully disagree with that statement. I haven't really, to be honest with you, thought just real deeply into that. Although there's been some times where I thought man, these people have more evidence than the government does, than they do. I mean, am I wrong? Or at the very least, they come across some of the, hot evidence, the make it or break it evidence before law enforcement does. Very suspicious to me. I mean, I say it's suspicious. I mean, I don't know if that's how it's supposed to go, but you would think that especially the FBI, these other agents, that they would be ahead of all this. But hey, I've been proven wrong before. But yeah, very good point. I have thought that before. Okay. Adam's here talking with the people too. All right, let's see. What's Linda saying? Did they bring any bomb dogs to the top of the building where Robinson had supposedly had the gun? I've heard that those dogs can smell residue for a long time after. So that's a very good question. I mean, I would assume, because, let's be honest. I just thought about this too. If a rifle shot on that rooftop, obviously there's residue that comes out of the end of the barrel, right? So when you shoot a shot, the gunpowder, the bullets going through the rifling, there's gunpowder residue, as far as I'm aware, that shoots out from the end of the gun, and so that's how people get gunpowder residue on them. And then also too, well, maybe if he didn't open the bolt action. But also too, if he would have, opened it up where the chamber is, gun residue can come or gunpowder residue can come out of there as well. So with that being said, yes. And so that's very interesting. Did the dogs hit at the location? So that would have been very interesting to know. When they got the bomb dogs out, let's say they pulled them up on campus near the Low-C Center. Well, what should have happened is the dogs either went straight up towards the rooftop where that was at, I think, and or where the rifle was eventually found. It should have gone there. So correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that'd be very interesting to know. But at the very least, right, they should have at least started the dogs on the trail where the sniper position was. So very interesting. Thanks for bringing that up, Linda. Okay, here we go. Alex Lynn, did anyone happen to see what time they supposedly found the gun that day? I can't seem to find any article that states a specific time. So very good. And I want to say, if you go back and look at Barron's episode where he discusses this, I had it pinned at 7:40 p.m. And I can't remember how exactly I came to 7:40 p.m., but I think when you watch Barron's live stream from that night. He was watching a channel called Truth and hold on. Give me just a second. Because I think I have it in my notes here, to be quite honest with you. Truth and Transparency. So if you go look at Barron's live stream, he's watching an account called Truth and Transparency. So you can probably go to the Truth and Transparency channel. I went there, and so you just need to cycle through all the videos that they have in the live stream where they talk about the Charlie Kirk incident. They're listening to all this CB traffic from authorities from that day and looking at it. Okay, here you go too. If you find that video from them, it's at timestamp 6:44 through 7 minutes. And looking at that, I think the time that indicates on what they're looking at is 7:40 p.m. 7:40 and 36 seconds is when the call that forensics had located a weapon. So that's when they called in saying, "Hey, we located it." I hope that helps. But that's where I got it from. But 7:40 p.m. is when allegedly the FBI found located the rifle. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Ellen Sells, thank you for the thoroughness of the legal examination. I'm imagining a T-shirt with, in my opinion, on the front and allegedly on the back. Hey, maybe I need to do some merch, huh? Maybe I need to do some merch. Just so y'all know, I was thinking for a while. I'm turning 40 this year, and so I was half-assed thinking about rebranding my channel, just because, quite honestly, I'm internally going. So like when I started doing the freedom of religion legal work, I entered a hippie phase, y'all. I went through about 5 years of the hippie phase, and I'm kind of transitioning out of it a little bit now that I'm turning 40. And so Entheogenic Esquire is really representative of my hippie lawyer phase. So I had in mind maybe to rebrand the channel, but to be quite honest with you, I think I'm going to keep it and run with it. But I do want to let y'all know, I think I'm going to do a channel called Constitutional Stories, where I do famous Supreme Court cases and then do like 40-minute to an hour long form videos about it and like tell the story and then give the legal breakdown and maybe do interviews and stuff. And so I wanted to let y'all know about that, but I think I'm going to keep the Entheogenic Esquire. I am going to spend some resources in getting like a really good logo made up and do some branding and stuff. But I just want to let y'all know about that. So like if you see me, I think I might even cut my hair this year and transition back to where I was before all the hippie time. Yeah, so if y'all see that, it's authentic. It's me. I guess it's a midlife crisis, but transition away from the hippie for a bit anyway. So yeah, I just want to let y'all know. Maybe that was too much information. Let's see. Yeah, I see Renita here. I'd love to peacefully protest. I do recommend everything peacefully. Okay. Now there are other, look, I'll just say this, First Amendment's there, very peaceful. Those are peaceful rights. Always default to that, right? But the Second Amendment, just in constitutional theory and actuality, the Second Amendment is what I consider the fallback amendment. And I did take I took a Second Amendment class in law school, and my professor is one of the preeminent ones in the country. And yeah, I see the Second Amendment is very, very important. Very, very important. It's the fallback, right? But again, First Amendment always takes primacy. Peace, First Amendment always takes primacy. Let's see. Are all the agents' names available for the public that have involved in the investigation, including the ones who, quote unquote, found the gun? Those are probably in on the cover up. I don't know. So I would imagine at this juncture, you would have to make a FOIA request for the FBI's investigative reports, or we might get those right now. If this goes to trial, all that should come out. All those reports and all that should come out in discovery, should be presented at trial. And I'll say you probably wouldn't get a FOIA request answered from the federal government anyways until the investigation trial, all that's over with. So yeah, I hope that helps. Probably won't be seeing those anytime soon, but hopefully so eventually. Thank you. Yeah. So here goes. Miss Susan says that me and Adam are good together. I love Adam to death, like a brother. And everyone, my subscribers, his people seem to really like us together. So again, I think we're going to try to hit for one live stream a week. I'll talk in a minute what we have in mind for this week, subject matter wise. Adam says he enjoys being on here with me. Oh, again, thank you, Mystic Gypsy. I think she had to run though. Renita's asking, are we going to be able to see the trial? Have they established if it will be televised? So again, that's still an ongoing controversy. Motions have been filed. I've done some live stream videos. If you want to go look on those specific motions, where those are at, I will obviously be doing some more follow-up. I'm going to dig deeper into the case law, stuff like that, and give some more in-depth legal commentary on that. But we won't know. So again, March 13th is going to be on whether the motions. So the defense filed a motion to classify all the pretrial defense motions as private. That's being challenged by the news media and the prosecution. And so that's going to be heard on April 13th. To me, that's very important, right? Because seeing the evidentiary motions will definitely give us an idea of what evidence is out there. Okay. And then on April 17th is when the media and the prosecutor and the defense will be going toe to toe on whether there will be cameras in the courtroom moving forward through trial, or if judge is going to limit it, what that's going to look like. So we'll know April 17th. And then the preliminary date for the preliminary hearing is in May sometime. I think early May, around my birthday sometime. My birthday. So anyways, we'll know more coming up here in the near future, hopefully. So stay tuned to my channel. I'll be covering all that in depth as I do this. Like what you see tonight, these are the kind of in-depth legal analysis that I do. And, you know, I guess some of it's not necessarily deep analysis per se, maybe, but it's definitely laying it all out there for y'all. I hope y'all feel like that I'm giving you everything you need to kind of go and start forming some, you know, educated and well-informed opinions on these things. I don't know if Blackline Brief had a live stream tonight. I would assume he's doing one every damn day. I think that's what he told me. Oh, he's not doing a live tonight in preparation for his live with Blake tomorrow. Okay. All right. Let's see. Elena says, would the defense challenge the destruction of the crime scene at the May preliminary hearing? Would they do that soon? No, that would be it, right? So again, I've done a bunch of on this already. I'm not going to go too deep, but yeah. May would be the preliminary hearing. That's when probable cause, if it's going to be challenged, would be challenged. And yes, that would be the appropriate time to assert the due process destruction of evidence motion. So again, man, if we don't see that, I ring the alarm bells, in my opinion, if we don't see that motion. Let's see. Okay, we got here, Jordan Henshaw seems to almost have it all figured out and is able to repeat the results. You know, to be honest, I haven't watched all his videos. I see him doing the gun under the shirt, stuff like that. I support him. I'm not here to comment on whether that's, you know, he has it figured out 100%. I think that he's got a very viable theory that should be definitely people should be paying attention to. And yeah, and support him. I definitely think that. And again, I'm purposefully staying out of like following one theory or the other for a number of reasons. and I've talked about them before, but just I'm trying to remain as detached and objective as possible, because I do feel that there is intentional misdirect and people out here that are might not have our best interest in heart as far as trying to figure this thing out. And so I'm kind of laying back, remaining as objective and neutral as possible, yet supporting everybody doing their theories for a reason. And yeah, go check Jordan out. He does great work. He's put a lot into it. Hey, he cares a lot about it. And that's meaningful for me too. You ask him, he definitely has it figured out. So amen. So thank you, LW. I appreciate it. Okay, here's apocalypse. Yeah, I think that was, and I guess this is going to the question of whether the image that we were shown is stock photo versus an actual photo rifle. And I think Apocalypse here agrees with me that, yeah, that's the actual rifle that they found. And I guess they put it in a box. And in all fairness, maybe that's an evidence box that they, would put it in. So anyways, yeah, that rifle in a box. Oh, I got another super chat. Let's see. Yeah, LW, again, as we've been saying, the pictured rifle is not a World War I Mauser. Not a World War I Mauser. Now, I showed y'all the pictures of that wooden rifle earlier. That's like a polished. I don't think that's what a World War I would look like, but I don't think that's an antique rifle. It's a very polished looking newer, because I think they still make Model 98s, but that's what it would look like otherwise, right? So, but it's not black, right? It's not black. So thank you for that observation. Raining. Oh, it was Phil Lineman. Okay, so Phil Lineman is the one I think that what they're Elena's getting at is it was Phil Lyman that had like the sister, the aunt that magically had the house right there near the campus that had the Ring doorbell that like had the Ring doorbell footage that they're saying is just killer evidence of Tyler Robinson did this. So yeah. Oh, thank you again, Moonchild, for the super sticker. Oh yeah, Susan, I've written 3 books. I'll be glad to send you the free PDFs. They're published on Amazon. So I'm not like it's funny, the U.S. attorney in court, because we were in court and my expert on the stand was like citing my books and stuff. And like, it really upset the U.S. attorney. I'll never forget. They're like, yeah, but you're published those on Amazon, self-published author. So it's like, yeah, they're published on Amazon. I'll be glad to send you PDF copies if you send me an email, no problem. Thank you, Renita. I appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. Yeah. Y'all are awesome, man. Y'all are great. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, Renita. Adam's channel is Adam Thomas Podcast. Adam Thomas Podcast. Oh, here we go. Here we go. This makes sense now. TMZ owner is on the Einstein list. That makes sense. That makes sense. Here we go. To Kurtz, thank you for the comment. I think the gun was fired a couple miles away and then driven and planted. Why did it have 5 samples of DNA on it? Isn't that what they said? Yeah, they did. They did. Yeah, apparently through reading into the consistent with language in the information mixed with the implications from Attorney Nestor's questioning of the main investigator. Yes, I do believe there were 5 different DNA profiles found there. And no, they did not do any fingerprints. Again, even though there is every indication in the alleged text that, yeah, they should have. Again, maybe they did. We just don't know. So we always have to leave that possibility because we're not being told everything. But yeah, very suspicious. And, your speculation here, I don't think you're crazy with it. I don't think that's crazy speculation at all. There's some mysterious force out there in Utah. Right? There's some super mysterious force going on, planting rifles everywhere. Be careful. I hope they don't misfire. I hope that mysterious force doesn't misfire while they're out there planting it. hopefully they did take care of that miles away and then go plant it in the nearest college, university. Let's see. You don't have to be a hippie, but keep the energy. It's good vibes. I'm a reggae head. Oh, nice, man. Oh, nice. Yeah, and thanks for joining us tonight, T. Kurtz. I can't remember if you've been with us before, but thank you for stopping in and being with us. I much appreciate it. We love you here. And yeah, man, I'll always be a hippie. You know what I thought the other night, y'all? I think I'm gonna, shift back a little bit and be more professional and, in the, what we call in the hippie realm, 3-dimensional world here. But maybe I revert back fully later on in life when I'm 50 or so. I got big plans in life, y'all. But yeah, no, I'll always be at heart. Being my hippie side was natural with the way I was raised to try to love everybody and, yeah. So anyways, it is natural to who I am. So I won't ever drop it. So yeah. Let's see. Y'all love hippies. Yeah. And just so y'all know, I was, just to explain to y'all, because I know a lot of y'all are probably a little bit on the conservative side. I was raised in a Democratic, like an old school Democratic household. And I was real into politics all the way up through college. I did a fellowship through the University of Texas in Washington, D.C. in 2006. I worked for One America Political Action Committee at the time. And, I was real in politics. But then I got to law school, and I guess for a lot of people, I think are similar. Like when I got to law school, I really started to realize how truly nuanced these things are, and that you can support a political party and these policies and all this, but really the rubber meets the road in the courtroom. And so I didn't vote. I don't think since 2008 I voted or been involved in politics in any real way. But during COVID, it really pushed my natural inclination, being to the left, really pushed me towards the right in that. And then working in the religious freedom context and wanting to be no government involved and stuff like that, pushed me towards the right. And so I feel now that I've come back into the sphere, I truly feel like I've ended up in a kind of middle road place. So I think that's very beneficial coming back into it. And so, yeah, y'all aren't going to see me pushing one party or the other. I to be honest with you, I think it's the devil. I think the 2-party polarized political system, and I'm going to do a bunch of content on this, is the devil, and it's intended to divide us, and it's insane. I don't buy into it. I don't like it, and I'm going to do a funny video on it. I think maybe tomorrow I'll record one, so y'all keep an eye out for that. Yeah, I don't buy into it, but the hippie, don't let that think that I'm totally left. It actually, in being a hippie, and really believing in the sanctity of one's body through COVID. Push me to the right. And then the religious freedom deal. And to be honest, Trump in his first term published a very, very favorable memo for presidential directive memorandum in favor of pro-religious freedom, which, that also too helped me further associate a little bit to the right. Okay. Ooh. Oh, so I guess Black Line Brief is going to go live here in a minute. I'll be laying in bed, but I will. Oh, thank you. Here goes. Gypsy gave me another super chat. Thank you, Mystic Gypsy. And yeah, when I'm done here, I'm going to go get a bite to eat and lay down in bed, and I will be there checking it out. I'll hit the chat with y'all once I get there, but give me a little bit. I need to eat and stuff, but I will be there. Thank y'all. Have they presented evidence to charge Tyler? So yeah. So again, you want to know the evidence that they have to charge? Well, this document right here, which is not an indictment, that is what's keeping Tyler Robinson locked up. Now, allegedly, the evidence mentioned in here is actual evidence that they have. Again, that's not commenting on the strength of it, but that is what's keeping him in jail, incarcerated at this moment. And so, Yeah. Obviously they've disclosed some of it and none of it looks good or strong. But that's what we're working with here. And again, preliminary hearing in May, that should be when we, get to really see everybody's cards. Hopefully they don't keep it private. I feel if they try to keep that private, it's not going to be good. I think there's going to be people that show up at that hearing outside to peacefully protest, always peacefully. Yeah, let's see. Let's see. Okay. Oh, got another. Oh, damn. Brett Booth. Just so you know, Brett, my best friend growing up, who I did a lot of hunting and gun shooting and stuff with, his last name was Booth. His name was Brock. And so Brett Booth, I love it. He says, I'm catching up, but I believe the rifle scope was on backwards. I heard that too. Or mounted incorrectly in some way. Yeah, maybe it was backwards. I heard the exact same thing, Brett. Exact same thing. So again, just another thing. It's like, okay, it doesn't look like you could even shoot something. Obviously, you can always open sight a rifle. I don't think at 160 yards it's going to be that accurate, but yeah. But that's very, very interesting, Brett. I'm going to do a little bit more digging and see if I might be able to get, if someone on YouTube, one of the experts hadn't already opined, maybe I can reach out to somebody who might be able to look at that and comment on it. Oh, T. Kurtz, thank you, man. Another one. When you end the stream, go jam stick figure. What a feeling, dude. Composes all the music lyrics. Okay, let me write that down real quick. I will check it out, man. Hell yeah. Jam stick figure. What a feeling. Okay. Jam stick figure. What a feeling. Okay, cool, man. Thank you. I will check it out, man. Thank y'all. Woo, this has been a hell of a stream, kind of a long stream, but I've enjoyed every minute of this, y'all. I really like this place I'm at right here. To be honest, I do think I'll still do the studio downstairs because it's going to be better for, I think, light. Now, I'll say this, y'all. Out this window right here is a beautiful mountain vista. A beautiful mountain vista. So, if I can do it to where I can get the lighting and open this back, these shades up right here where you can see the mountain vista in the back, I might stay up here. I very well might stay up here. So I won't discount it. What I'll do is actually tomorrow or Thursday, I think my schedule is, I might do a day stream on Thursday and open up these blinds back here. If I can get the lighting correct and get my camera to focus correctly, I might do a stream with the mountain vista in the back and see what y'all think about it. But anyways, okay, y'all, I am pooped after all this, but I enjoyed every minute of it. God bless every one of you. Thank you so much. Getting all these super chats my first time, like, man, incredible. My heart is very, very full. Thank y'all. Thank y'all very much. And I do have memberships now. I'll say this, once I get enough, if I guess I get one member, but I'm going to make sure that the membership stuff is even more, and I'm still figuring out in my head how I'm going to make it more and more special, but it will be. It absolutely will be. And so thank y'all very much. God bless. One thing before I go, Adam and I, and we've been talking about this. Adam had made a live stream or a video and was talking about Gary from Paramount Tactical and his attacks on Candace, which have greatly increased since that stream, by the way. Talking about that, and I don't know if I'm not going to go that far into it, other than to say Adam did a stream talking, criticizing Gary's criticizing of Candace, and Gary had commented up under that video, the only comment there, that basically he wanted Adam to come on his show and debate him or talk to him, address the issue. Well, me and Adam have been kind of waiting. I think it'd be awesome for Adam to go on there and talk to him face to face, stream to stream. but he hasn't. And so Adam today, we've been talking. Adam made a post today on X, just asking Gary about it. Very nice. Adam's a very nice, respectful man. He's like me. I'm not going to go out there and criticize. I don't get off on being negative or downing people. But Adam wants to engage in a meaningful conversation with them. And so Adam put it out there on X today, like, hey man, what's up? And hasn't heard anything as far as I'm aware now, but if it is like that Friday, we're going to do a stream regardless, I'm pretty sure. But if by the time Friday rolls around, Gary hadn't reached out and he hasn't, gone on the show, we're going to have a long conversation about it. In very respectful way. It's not going to be like, if y'all are expecting us to get on there and putting Gary down no, we're not doing that. But we're just going to talk about the dynamic of why, it's very important to engage in meaningful dialogue, especially in those situations. And anyways, I'll leave it at that. So I just want to let y'all know that. Again, if you haven't, go support Adam Thomas Podcast. We're going to be on Friday. Hope to see you there, and God bless. I'm hanging up, y'all. Peace.